Ethiopia and on the continent of Africa. My guest today is Jodahi Bezabih. He is youth and environmental activist. So we'll be talking about a host of issues when it comes to the challenges the youngsters face within the framework of issues such as climate and green initiatives with the program Environmental Activator. Jodahi, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm really happy to have this conversation with you.
Absolutely. I've learned that you have been working as a protractor and you are the founding member of Protract Club of Dabo. It is a community-based club dedicated to working on community and international service projects. So first off, can you walk me through some of the things in this regard?
Perfect. Thank you for the question. So as you have already mentioned, my name is Jodahi. My background is on applied biology and environmental and sustainable development. So in regards to that, I've been weaving through in and out in the science and also in the social aspect of climate change and environmental protection. But most of all, I had the chance to really explore myself through the means of Protract. So for you to understand the concept of Protract, first and foremost, it's a community-led, youth-focused, and community engaging environment. We are able to really understand the issues of our community and give back. So because of that, Protract Club of Dabo is one of the clubs in Ethiopia that is functioning and that is focused on, of course, community engagement and also the leadership of the youth.
Great. I've also learned that you've been elected as a UN Youth Delegate. Can you tell me more about that, please?
Recently, I've been trying to engage myself not only in the local environmental protection issues, but also in the climate and also even further into interlinking various issues of the world. And one of the opportunities that came to my way was the UN Youth Delegate program. The UN Youth Delegate, I am now selected as one of the African Youth Delegate representing Ethiopia that is going to the UN General Assembly, which is happening in September. That is something that I'm very, very keen on understanding. Of course, furthermore, we are working as a region to really understand the issues of our country, our region, so that we can go and take the issues of the youth on how we can tackle them, and then how can we bring in partners into this fight.
Wow. Let me take you back to Protract. Protract Club of Dabo is a new Protract club which was established to develop effective leaders and promote responsible citizenship. This is something, this is huge, and it's really appreciable. But I'm afraid that there could be, some challenges coming along this. So how are you prepared to, boldly face the challenges, and what are some of the things that you have been doing in this regard?
Well, in regards to the challenges, when you come to a youth issue, it's always going to have a lot of problems.
Definitely.
The way that we are focusing on how to tackle it is finding the community solutions among the communities. So our biggest project, for example, is called #Dabo. #Dabo focuses on community involvement of their project. So how can we get into community? How can we go to a society? How can we solve their issue with them? So for example, if they need certain home to be rebuilt, if they need certain materials so that they could start their business, how can we find the funds through our means, not by sponsors, but actually also developing ourselves and engaging with a lot of partners, with a lot of leaders, so that we could be able to use the resources other people have and then bring it to the people. So it's very engaging as much as possible, because even our logo shows that there's a wheel. So that wheel basically giving back to the community and also going back from the community and also giving back again. So it's
Wow.
developing ourselves while developing the community. So that's pretty much what we've been focusing in regards to Rotrack Club of Dabo, and so many other projects, including in the Quran Bessa. We have pediatrics ward that we are supporting in regards to activities, engagement of children, infants. So there's so many projects I can't even remember.
As a young environmental volunteer and as someone working with the youngsters of not only Ethiopians but those of the continent of Africa, you have been working in collaboration with African youth in different areas, including climate, environment, and things like that. So let's also talk about the climate issues. What are some of the things when it comes to the different challenges that Africa is suffering from, where vis-a-vis climate issues, something like that?
Yeah. One of the biggest community in our continent that faces climate change and environmental protection, environmental issues head on is the youth. As you already know, 60% of the African population is under 24,
Yeah.
which makes it one of the youngest population in the whole world right now. So this means we need to be able to understand what are the issues that the youth have been facing and what they have been what they have been responding on to.
Right.
So for example, desertification. A lot of youths found in the desertified areas are lacking a whole lot of water, food, and so many other necessities. When you talk about various parts of the southern part of our continent, for example in Zimbabwe, there's a lot of cyclones that are affecting poorly managed communities. So many other issues all over the continent where we're still trying to understand on how the youth can be a solution into solving the various issues that we are going to face not only now but also the future,
Right.
because we are the future of the continent.
Moving on from there, Judy, as a youth activist, you have had various chances of sharing experiences with youngsters in different corners of the continent. So now tell me, what are some of the persistent challenges that you happen to hear from the youngsters wherever you go? What is the persistent challenge that African youngsters face as we speak?
Yeah. Thank you for asking this question, because this is one of the most we're trying to tackle as youths across the continent. One of the major issues is participation. Understanding that the youth shall be the rooms that the decisions are made. We shall be involved in the engagement of the policies. We need to be able to be the persistent forces that could actually solve a lot of issues that are going to be coming forward. So the youth are always ready, but also in addition to that, in comparison, there's also meaningful participation. You know, the youth can be should, as I said, can participate.
Exactly.
But when they get in, is it a meaningful one or is just participation? Are they going to sit at the back of the table, or are they going to be at the front leading with that stature? And then lastly, does the youth even have the capacity to be in those tables, to actually share what they have as a young individuals in those tables, so that they will be able not only to speak but also guide the whole conversation into something better. So that is something that we're still managing as much as possible, not only the participation but also what are the losses that the youth are facing day to day. As means of development, they have been the ones at the forefront developing our continent, but they are also the ones who have been facing a whole lot of issues in regards to climate change and environmental protection. So that's sort of like a blanket answer, where the intricacies of the issues is very, very wide, and it differs in depending on to the different countries.
Well, I'm so glad that you raised this idea. The other thing that's stereotypical of African youngsters is that this lopsided, mistaken, erroneous pieces of information that's being, propagated against the youngsters of Africa, that they can't cope up with the so-called developed nations. And this is still going on, and Africans are doing their best to, refute or to prove wrong. So how can they prove those nations wrong? How can they refute such erroneous pieces of information, in your view?
Thank you. This is also one of the best questions that you've also asked in regards to, for example, our indigenous knowledge is still intact in most parts of Africa. When you go to the western side of this world, you usually don't see the youths or even the people, the population, engaged with their norms, with their indigenous ideologies. But Ethiopia, Africa, has still this diversity of beautiful knowledge, where we can truly have a globalized effort, but actually make a local action.
Right.
And Africa actually has the chance to develop while also developing the various indigenous knowledge that we have.
Wow.
And as youth, as I was said earlier, we need to be able to capacitate ourselves with the solutions that we have at our home. We shouldn't always wait for the solutions to come from outside, but there's so many issues that we can solve by just going back to our communities, to our households, because when you speak about climate change, it might be big for a lot of, maybe for example, when you come to Ethiopia, a farmer. If you go to a farmer, he understands where the water comes from, how he uses it, how he wants to use it, and grow his crops. So the way that he understands climate change might not necessarily have to be the way that we speak about climate change outside. But he knows how to bring water, or at least drive it towards his field.
Right.
He already knows how to use the people around him so that they could cultivate it well. He already understands what the soil needs. So we need to be able to go back, especially as youths of Africa, with so many diverse knowledge, to come back and actually solve them with our own solutions. So the youth have a lot of diversity of arrays of solutions that we can actually tap into.
Wow, that's something. On the other hand, I know African youngsters are coming up with incredible, scientific achievements. But the problem is, I think we do not promote that properly. And on the other hand, there is also this wrong narrative, as we said earlier. What's the role of the African media, especially in properly promoting youngsters' achievements in Africa that you see?
Well, this is the first step, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
By the invitation of this television program, I am able to represent my ideas, that is representing my country, youths. But that is just the beginning. This is a start. Something that I also want to say in alignment is also the use of social media into the works of the youth. A lot of people use social media for limited needs, but social media and also the media in general have such a huge a role into actually incorporating various ideas into the people's minds. And I believe when people feel inspired by various youths, various people that are working on such matters, they will be inspired to come back and actually engage. So the media is obviously a great partner because, for example, for me, I started off by social media campaigns. I started off by actually having my own platform on social media, speaking about climate change and environmental protection. And in comparison to Ethiopia, how can we solve the issues with our own solutions?
Right.
Who are the people that are working on, especially youths, that are working on climate change and environmental protection in their own homes? So that is something that needs to be more cultivated, of course. I hope most of my friends that are also engaged in environmental protection will be able to come in and also join in this program. And hopefully the rest of African media also engages in this matter.
As someone who is involved in the protection of the environment, as you know, Ethiopia, it's been a while since Ethiopia began planting billions of trees in an unprecedented manner, which has won the appreciation and admiration of many. So how do you see this practice of planting such a huge number of trees in this East African nation?
Perfect. The Green Legacy movement is, as you already mentioned, is one of the biggest programs that is actually implemented by the government and also executed by the people, which makes it more personal for a lot of people. I don't think when you go across the street or even in the offices that people do not know about the concept of green legacy. So that has led to a various even partnership amongst, like, for example, countries like Kenya that are also starting their own initiative by planting, I don't know the exact number, but a lot of numbers of trees, just like Ethiopia. This has led sort of conversations to start, one, to also tackle the concept of desertification, which has been facing, which has been a huge issue in regards to Ethiopia and also some sub-Saharan countries.
Right.
And also the way that we are going to be cultivating it is sort of like growing day by day. We are able to see that people are willing to plant, people are willing to engage with the development of their green environment, because as we grow, as we continue developing, we will be able to even have a diversity of plants. And to just wrap it all up, recently our government is also pushing the plantation of bamboo trees. Bamboo trees is one of the most sustainable plants that we all know that we use.
It's also multi-purpose, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. So we are able to see that the government is also pushing that there needs to be more fields of bamboos that could actually be exported or be used right here, because we're still very far behind in actually seeing them grow and actually engaging. And maybe like a last point is, I know that some of the seedlings might have not developed as promised or as we wanted to, but I think this has an initial phase. Right. It was more of an initial phase, and I know after this, more engagement, more development in regards to growing the trees that we're planting is also the next step of this process.
Exactly. I think you raised a very important point, that this planting of trees is creating this sense of ownership, that everybody is involved. This is something appreciable. As someone who knows the importance of planting trees, who is in the know when it comes to the climate issues and things like that, how are you contributing here to this planting of trees, which has already seen billions of trees planted?
Yeah. Something that I did not mention earlier on, I'm also one of the founders for Influencers community. Influencers focuses on environmental advocacy and education. Yeah. So we use social media platforms and also various means by partnering with various organizations, including Oxfam Ethiopia and Inspired Ethiopia. These are the key partners that are helping us to cultivate plant trees and also advocate about planting trees. So we are able to contribute our side. We're still hoping to expand further into different medias. Hopefully we will partner with ETV as well for this program, because we are still we still see a lack of capacity for a lot of youths and a lot of people in regards to just planting tree. Okay. Because we need to be able to understand what plant can be planted in certain places. All right. If that plant is going to be growing in that place, how are we going to grow it? So that's something that we are also working as an organization. We're still working on diversifying on the various issues, because the thing that you might plant in Addis might not be the reality of other places. For a plant to grow, it needs the necessity and the altitude and the soil, right, and all the necessary requirements to grow, as anyone who is a living thing actually grows. So just like that, the plants need the right type of space, the right type of nutrients, the right type of management, right, so that they would be able to grow. So I really truly believe that this initiative is actually really driving more questions. You know, people are still asking, so am I able to plant this, for example, acacia tree around here? And that's when you start the conversation. No, this is not the right place. Wow. This is how you should plant it. Maybe you should do this for the fruit trees and stuff like that. We're very, very happy that people are asking, because when people ask, they get answers. Right. And that's the engagement that we want. Yes.
So what do you expect out of this Green Legacy initiative? What are some of the benefits that you see?
Well, in the long run, I see the diversity that is going to grow. The diversity of plants that are indigenous in local communities, it's going to help a whole lot of individuals. For example, cultivating could potentially help to build a park, for example. If the bamboo trees actually grow, also means of resources for the communities there. So various angles of environmental protection could really protect not only your immediate environment, but your climate. Because the small actions, the small deeds that we do day by day could potentially solve the big issue that we are seeing all over the world currently.
Yeah, I think it can also be a source of income from the sales of carbons and things like that. I know that different African nations are emulating Ethiopia's experience, and they have already gotten into planting trees. How do you see this initiative by other African nations, and how exemplary has Ethiopia's Green Legacy initiative been in this regard?
Of course, Ethiopia has been leading this, I think, not only for Africans, but also the world. We have been the ones that had the record of planting so many trees in just one day. Not only that, the inspiration comes from even the concept of having Ethiopian related projects, because if you go across the continent, the view that they have for Ethiopia is really seen into their eyes. Our identity is really engraved in each of the African nations, and when we are the leaders of actually tackling this big issue, we are now helping various communities to also okay, if Ethiopia is also doing this, we need to be part of this. As I pointed out earlier on, Kenya is now leading with Ethiopia into solving the issue in regards to desertification, especially in East Africa. But not only that, the Green Belt movement that the AU is actually working on is also now further expanded, not only in the sub-Saharan area, but also in the southern part of Africa, for the southern Africa, South Africa, and Namibia, and other African countries in the southern part, so that they will be able also to tackle desertification and not expand more than it is. So this is something really inspirational, that we're not only working for our community, but we're also expanding the solutions to the rest of the continent.
Wow, that's something appreciable, really. I've already finished my question, but I'm wondering if you have any final message that you want to convey, any shout out, something like that.
Yeah. I just only have one point to make, where, as I pointed out earlier, the youth do not have the space. That doesn't mean that we have to just sit down. We have the authority and also the potential and the responsibility to really create that space. Why do we always have to be the ones that are invited to certain places? Why don't we create our spaces to invite also other individuals? And more than that, how can we link the intergenerational gap that we have been facing from our forefathers into our local, into our younger capacities? So I really truly believe that if there's no spaces, in building your spaces. If you're not able to be invited, building that space to invite others is something that I truly understand, that not only in climate change, not only environmental protection, there's so many other interlinking issues, for example, gender, disabilities, and so many other issues that needs further engagement, needs not the approval of others, but themselves. And engaging with others. So I just wanted to point that out.
Jodahi, thank you so much for your wonderful ideas.
Thank you.
Well, dear viewers, with that, we come to the end of today's program. Thank you as well for having been with us so far. Until I see you next time with yet another program, it's goodbye from me, Shufar Raulak. Take care and stay safe.